Hello, lovers, and welcome back to Marry, Kiss, Kill Island. Let's meet this week's contestants. First up, we have Red Rising. Published in 2014, this is the debut novel of author Pierce Brown. The manuscript was rejected more than 100 times before it was finally published on Pierce's 27th birthday. Next, we welcome to the show Golden Sun. This sequel was published less than 1 year after Red Rising, and it achieved the distinction of winning the 2015 Goodreads Choice Award for science fiction. Our final contestant is Morning Star. This grand finale to the original Red Rising trilogy was the first book in the series to rise all the way to the #1 spot on the New York Times bestseller list. Now that we've met the contestants, let's meet this week's guest judge.
Hi, I'm Sea of Pages, and I am so excited to be on the show.
What do you look for in a book?
Obviously, I like a strong plot, but I'll admit that I am a sucker for beautiful prose. And a good-looking cover never hurt. But honestly, I'd have to say I'm a character guy. The book I marry has to have great characters.
Are you ready to check out the books?
Let's do it.
First, Sea of Pages spent an evening around the fire with Red Rising. Next, Sea of Pages had an afternoon of fun and games with Golden Sun. Finally, Sea of Pages had a fancy dinner with Morning Star. After spending time with each book in the Red Rising trilogy, it was time for Sea of Pages to make his choice.
What did you think of the contestants?
Well, Red Rising was definitely dark, but I have to admit I had a lot of fun. Things got off to a bit of an awkward start. I felt like the beginning was slow and it kind of was just depressing, generic backstory that I felt like I'd seen 100 times before. Honestly, the beginning is a lot like Braveheart. But then, once we get to the Institute, that's where the book really picks up. I loved the idea of a battle royale style where it's warring factions instead of every man for himself. Also, I really like that even though it's a sci-fi book, the Institute is almost a fantasy setting. So the book kind of transports into this, swords and knights and horses, medieval battle royale to seize control of keeps and, conquer your enemies. Honestly, it felt like a mashup of a great paintball match with the ultimate game of capture the flag.
And how was your afternoon with Golden Sun?
Surprisingly pleasant.
Why were you surprised it was pleasant?
Well, you know how it can be with sequels. A lot of times the author just takes what worked about the first book and then tries to do it all again, but bigger and grander. But Golden Sun isn't that at all. Pierce Brown completely abandons the battle royale that was the heart of Red Rising and tells a completely different type of story. This is a political thriller, it is a space opera, it's an action adventure, and it's a drama. Brown starts doing some serious character work with the supporting cast, whereas in Red Rising, everyone but Darrow felt like a stock character. They felt very two-dimensional. In Golden Sun, everyone starts to really get fleshed out, and that makes the book really enjoyable. And the plot's great, and now we're dealing with, a civil war. This is also the first book to leave Mars, and it's now a galaxy-spanning adventure. It was really a lot of fun.
That just leaves the finale. How did your dinner with Morning Star go?
It was great. Look, endings are hard, and I always worry going into a finale because a bad ending can kind of retroactively suck some of the joy out of the previous books.
Did Morning Star ruin the previous books?
No, not at all. I think Brown does a great job of tying up all the stories that he started between the main plot, but also all the character arcs he's begun. And there are a lot of them. In Morning Star, we continue exploring the galaxy. Brown continues fleshing out the cast of the Red Rising trilogy, and we get to see Darrow at the head of a rebel army fighting epic space battles. What could be more fun than that?
Sounds like you guys had a great time.
Definitely.
So have you made your final decisions?
Yes, I believe I have.
All right, Sea of Pages. Now it's time to marry, kiss, or kill. First off, Who will you be killing?
I am going to kill Morningstar. I enjoyed my time with Morningstar. I thought Brown delivered a worthy ending to the trilogy. He closes out every character's arc and revisits all the major themes of the series. However, while the story has some twists along the way, generally it felt very predictable. Brown does the obligatory killing of a supporting character to prove that this is a serious adult book before proceeding to the storybook ending. Honestly, I felt like the trilogy ended on a note nearly as generic as it began.
All right, Morningstar, the epic conclusion has been killed. There are 2 books left standing. Who will you kiss?
I'm going to kiss Red Rising. Red Rising has a very simple pitch. What if Hunger Games had teams instead of being an individual free-for-all? And what if those teams got a castle to defend? And this book is just as fun as that pitch sounds. However, it's not my favorite book in the trilogy for a few reasons. First, Red Rising has the sloppiest prose by far of the 3. And second, the beginning adds some necessary depth and heart to the story, but it feels incredibly generic and honestly is a bit boring. And finally, this book gets dark. It features cannibalism, crucifixions, and multiple instances of sexual assault. And that just isn't in keeping with the rest of the series. Honestly, I suspect that if Brown had it to do over, he would tone down some of those darker elements, specifically the sexual assaults.
Red Rising, the book that started it all and launched Pierce Brown's career, did not make the top spot. So, tell us, why are you choosing to marry Golden Sun?
Golden Sun is an easy winner here. The writing is far better than the first book, the pacing is excellent, and the story is original. Brown shows us more of the galaxy he's envisioned, so the setting starts to feel less like a generic sci-fi future. And unlike the other 2 books in the series, nothing in Golden Sun felt derivative of stories I'd read before. And that's why I'll be marrying Golden Sun.
Well, there you have it, folks. Sea of Pages killed Morningstar, kissed Red Rising, and married Golden Sun. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Links to in-depth reviews of each book are in the description. And don't forget to join us next time for more Marry, Kiss, Kill Island.